The ancient Greeks often spoke of the heroic age when nymphs and satyrs cultivated the mountains and gods played with mortals. Among the Greek myths that take place in the heroic age is the story of the house of Atreus. The royal progenitor of this family, Tantalos, committed such an atrocity against the gods that his descendants were cursed forever. This story is an example of the archaic Greek belief that guilt was inheritable and a person's misfortune could be attributed to the crimes of an ancestor. King Tantalos was beloved by the gods, who came to dine with him at his home on earth. But out of secretly held spite against the immortals, Tantalos murdered his son and fed the Olympians cooked human flesh. But the gods were not fooled. They brought the boy back to life and punished Tantalos by placing him in Tartarus, the underworld. There he stands in a pool of water that evaporates when he leans down to take a drink. Above him is a vine blooming with fruit that the wind moves out of reach whenever he reaches up to take a bite. Tantalus' punishment gave us the English word tantalizing. The resurrected son of Tantalos, Pelops, went on to be worshipped in the region of Lower Greece, which is named the Peloponnese after him. Pelops is sometimes credited with starting the family curse because of the way he won his wife, the princess Hippodamia. Hippodamia's father challenged all of his daughter's suitors to a chariot race, which he always won because of his unbeatable horses. With the help of the royal servant Myrtilus, Pelops rigged the king's chariot to fall apart. Pelops won the race and married Hippodamia, but he had to kill Myrtilus when the servant tried to sleep with his new wife. It is uncertain whether the family curse came about because of Pelops' murder of Myrtilus or the blasphemy of Tantalos. Regardless, the family of the Pelops would endure terrible tragedy. Pelops' sister Neo became the mother of 14 children, and when the people of her town began worshipping the goddess Leto, Neo grew vain and told them to worship her instead. Leto only had 2 children, the Olympians Apollo and Artemis, where Niobe herself had 14. She said that surely she was more worthy of worship. Unfortunately, Apollo and Artemis heard Niobe's boast, and they didn't appreciate her insulting their mother. They came with bows and arrows and shot all of her sons and daughters to death. Ovid captures her heartbreak in an episode from his catalogue of myths, the Metamorphoses. Pelops also had 2 sons, Atreus and Thyestes. Atreus became king of the region called Mycenae. Meanwhile, his younger brother Thyestes betrayed him by seducing his wife. In retaliation, Atreus murdered Thyestes' children and invited his unwitting brother to dinner. Once Thyestes had finished eating, Atreus told him he had just eaten his own children. Thyestes would only get his revenge through the next generation, when Thyestes' one living son would go on to murder the son of Atreus. Atreus' children are well known because of the part they played in the Trojan War. They were Agamemnon and Menelaus, the Greek princess who brought war to Troy after the Trojan prince Paris ran away with Helen, the wife of Menelaus. The Greeks felt their cause for war was just, but the winds would not propel the sails of their warships. A priest with the army said they must sacrifice Agamemnon's young daughter, Iphigenia. Agamemnon summoned his daughter with promises that she would marry the Greek soldier Achilles. But when she arrived, his friends seized her and slit her throat over the altar. Greek playwright Aeschylus writes, "The winds became favorable and the Greeks sailed to Troy. After 10 years of fighting, they razed Troy to the ground and stole Helen back. Agamemnon sailed home victorious and brought the Trojan princess Cassandra with him. Cassandra was not only a princess but also a seer, having been endowed with the gift of divine sight by the god Apollo, who loved her. When Cassandra rejected Apollo's advances, he cursed her so that she could see the future, but no one would ever believe what she saw. On his arrival home, Agamemnon greeted his wife, Helen's twin sister, Clytemnestra, while Cassandra stood nearby and predicted his imminent death. Once Agamemnon entered his palace, his wife and her lover Aegisthus stabbed him to death in the bathtub. This murder was the inheritance of the previous generation. Aegisthus, the son of Thetis, murdered Agamemnon, the son of Atreus. Later, Orestes, the son of Clytemnestra and Agamemnon, returned home from abroad and found his sister Electra pouring ritual liberations of their father's grave. Orestes learned that his mother was killed, his father, and encouraged by Electra and the god Apollo, he vowed revenge. Orestes fulfilled his filial duty to his father and murdered his mother, Clytemnestra. In doing so, he awakened the furies of the underworld, the furies of monstrous women with snakes for hair who avenged family murders. These creatures pursued Orestes across Greece to Athens. There, in Greek fashion, the Furies took Orestes to trial with Apollo as defense counsel and Athena as judge. In the end, Orestes was acquitted and the family curse finally died.